Hey everybody, welcome to Far Out Dudes.
It's another week and we got another far out conversation for you.
I'm one of your hosts, Paul.
I'm Joseph.
And this week, with the Valentine's Day coming up.
Sexy time.
Yeah, we've got a few stories for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Strange and a little tragic, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so we want to pass those along to you so you can just kind of think about how you may be spending your Valentine's Day and to be careful out there.
Yeah. Don't be like one of these people.
Don't be anything like these people, okay? If
Just have a nice night out and then just go home.
That's it. Don't do anything too crazy. And if you're a lonely person out there, please don't be one of these crazy people.
No.
Don't be one of these crazy people.
Never mind. Go
just
ahead.
Don't. So I'm gonna start. I'll start off.
Okay.
I'll start off with a story that I overheard, and read about. It was pretty tragic and kind of crazy, to be honest with you. So it starts off with Phil and
spooky music.
So it starts off with Phil and Peggy.
Mm-hmm.
Phil and Peggy were a young couple who had been dating since high school, and eventually they actually went to college together.
Oh wow!
Phil and Peggy were so in love, or so we thought. At one party one night, Phil got a little tipsy, and I guess you would say in his drunken stupor, he slept with another woman.
Never acceptable.
Never acceptable. Peggy found out the next day and was heartbroken. She couldn't take it. She broke up with him. Fortunately, she didn't do anything strange to herself, but she broke up with Phil. Phil himself was heartbroken and couldn't believe the things that he did. Over the next few years, he tried his best to apologize and sent Peggy notes, cards, and every Valentine's Day he sent her flowers, cards, and candy. Nevertheless, Peggy couldn't take the heartbreak of what Phil did to her. And eventually the flowers, cards, and candy stopped every Valentine's Day. A few years go by. Peggy meets a new man 5 to 6 years later after that.
Is his name Hank Hill?
5 to 6 years later after the incident, Peggy eventually moved on and married this man that she had. She had a new happy life. Everything was going well for her. Phil was never was another thought in her mind.
Well, she got over him pretty quick, huh?
5 to 6 years is a pretty long time after meeting a new guy. So I would say her new marriage was going well. She enjoyed her new life with her husband. Peggy's new husband had to work on the first Valentine's Day that they would have together as a married couple. And Peggy thought, I'm going to make a nice meal for my new husband.
Yeah, when he gets home.
When he gets home, we're going to celebrate. She started kind of cooking a meal and everything, and the door rang. And there's a delivery. Flowers, cards, and candy. Her first thought.
FCC. You got to follow the FCC rule.
Yeah, you always have to, for Valentine's Day, you have to follow the FCC rule, which is flowers, cards, and candy.
Yeah. Sometimes tea for teddy bear.
Okay. And so, obviously, Peggy's first thought was, my husband. He loves me.
Mm-hmm.
Flowers, cards, and candy from my husband. The card was anonymous. It didn't say who it was from. So all she could think about was the love she had for her husband.
It's from her dead husband.
And so Peggy texted her husband, since he was at work, thanking him and saying she loved the flowers, cards, and candy. Her husband replied, I love you, dear, but those weren't from me.
I'm not that nice. I would never do that for you.
So Peggy didn't give it another thought. And without thinking about it any longer, as she wanted to focus on her new husband, she started cooking again. And then again, another strange knock on the door. To answer it, another delivery. Flower, cards, and candy.
She is one lucky lady.
This time, the card wasn't anonymous.
It was from the milkman.
The card said, I love you and miss you, Peggy.
Oh, wait.
We should be together.
Huh?
We've always should have been together. Signed, Phil.
Philip. Were
Peggy-
both of them from
Peggy
Philip?
at that moment started to have strange concerns and worries,
Yeah, freaking out. Mm-hmm.
but thought, you know what? It's nothing. Even though at the time she thought, how does he know where I live? How did he get my address?
I did, man.
But at that point, she carried on and locked the doors and thought nothing of it and said, we've moved on from it. Hopefully Phil will eventually as well.
Yes, hopefully.
So she continues to cook. She continues to light the candles, and she threw away the flower cards and candy that Phil left.
Oh, 1 second real quick. What was she cooking?
A special meal for her husband.
Ooh. Sounds delicious.
While her meal is in the oven finishing off, Peggy goes and puts on some nice lingerie.
Oh, my.
She hears
The whole 9 yards.
She hears noise in the garage as the garage door opens and closes, and she thinks to herself, her husband's home. She gets excited, runs to the door to meet him.
In her lingerie?
In her lingerie.
Oh, nice.
She wanted to surprise him with a special gift of her own.
Uh-huh.
So as she opens the door, she's horrified to see Phil standing in the garage with a gun.
Oh, my.
Terrified, she closes the door, locks it, and runs away. She runs to her phone. She calls 911.
And Phil answers.
Phil must have heard, because by the time the police arrived a few minutes later, she must have been a white woman because the police arrived very quickly. The police found no one in the garage. Peggy thought it strange as the garage door never opened and no one ever came in and out.
She didn't hear anything.
She didn't hear anything else after that.
Uh-huh.
But maybe she thought, I was just terrified. I don't know. Maybe he figured out a way out or something, or maybe he did open the garage and leave. Her husband made it home, and he comforted her, and her worry subsided as Phil continued to run through her mind at night. She found it hard to sleep.
Why wasn't he just walking through her mind?
He had his running shoes on.
Okay.
And at that, she finally was able to rest and fall asleep, and so her husband kept watch overnight, and she woke up the next morning, made her coffee, ate breakfast. As Peggy turned on the television to watch the news, to her dismay, she sees a report about Phil. Self-inflicted wounds 2 days prior to Valentine's Day. So who was in the garage? If not Phil.
Phil's ghost.
Better yet, was that his ghost?
So Phil's ghost opened up the garage and had a shotgun?
I don't know what kind of gun he had. He just had a gun.
Well, I thought you said shotgun.
I said a gun in his hand.
Oh. Well, typically when people self-inflict themselves with a gun, it's typically a shotgun.
This isn't the Clinton
That
story,
is
so
that is pretty scary.
oh.
So
Ooh.
Phil decided, hey, I haven't let go. It's been 5-6 years.
My question is, did he set up those flower deliveries before he did that to himself?
Probably. I mean, you can set things up ahead of time.
You never know.
Let's turn this spooky music off.
Yeah.
It's scaring me.
I think, P&P, Peggy and Phil should have ended up together, high school sweethearts, but, some things just don't end up the way you want.
Well, that and Phil ended up sending her FCC and not even her husband, who was just at work like, hey, yeah, I like you, but
That's
no,
kind of strange.
don't call me back.
He
call
probably
me while I'm at work.
He was probably planning on bringing her FCCs on the way home. Like, I'm gonna get flowers and candy and cards and everything, and then I'm gonna show up.
Very true.
Unfortunately,
FCC,
he had to
then
rush home because there was somebody in her garage.
Psycho, yeah. FCC, maybe,
Or
BBC.
Not someone, but a ghost.
So,
Oh,
it's my turn.
ooh,
Let's cue the spooky music.
spooky music.
I also have a love triangle
Ooh, not
story.
a Deathly Hollow like mine.
No, it's a deathly love triangle.
Ooh,
The Castillo de San Marcos in St. Augustine, Florida, is the oldest masonry fort in the United States. The site itself is dripping with paranormal activity, but today we focus on an affair that led to murder. In 1784, Colonel Garcia Marti brought his young wife Dolores to the fort. He wasn't the most devoted husband and often ignored his wife. Thus, she found other ways to spend her time. Wink, wink. She began an affair with her husband's assistant, Captain Manuel Abuela.
Oh.
And what does Abuela mean in Spanish?
Grandma.
His name was Manuel Grandma.
Interesting.
So Dolores wore a very unique perfume, which Garcia smelt on Manuel one day. Shortly after, Dolores and Manuel went missing. Garcia told everyone that Dolores had returned to Spain and that Manuel had a special assignment in Cuba.
Ooh.
About 50 years or so later, a hidden room was found in the dungeon behind a brick wall.
Ooh,
the remains of a woman and a man were found, but the sightings of a woman in a white dress have been reported on the site.
Ooh.
Could it be Dolores?
Dolores.
Or could Manuel be into that kind of weird stuff and it be Manuel?
Manuel Grandma.
So,
Oh.
here the husband still does some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Back in the 1784s. And this kind of stuff has just been going on.
Back to the 1784s.
Back in 1784. So
Yeah, so I'm guessing
this kind of weird Valentine's Day love triangle kind of stuff has been going on for a very long time.
Yeah.
Since the 1700s.
Well,
Or to be specific, the 1784s.
love stories in general, right? I mean, they either
Triangles.
they end up happy or they end up tragic.
So my question for this love triangle, that's more of a spade, but a triangle, are there any love squares?
There could be.
Or love
I think-
hexagons?
I think there's love squares. I think it just sounds weird saying
Would
love
love-
squares.
Would love hexagons be more like group love?
Those are polyamory.
Polyamorous?
Yeah, polyamorous relationships, you know?
Out there in
Those
Utah.
Those actually, well, not even in Utah now. They're becoming just more mainstream,
It's
and
really weird.
and they don't end up as well as people think they do.
No, they're all happy. Nice group love activity. Having kids and having
Let's
three
just
different
say-
moms
let's-
in the same house.
Let's just say that people do, when they fall in love, they get all up in their fields, and sometimes those fields end up very
They spill over to other
Tragic.
people's fields.
yes. So
And you end up living in a love
Yeah.
hexagon.
yes, and a terrible love hexagon.
So I want to wrap it up with this little story of how. Do you know how Valentine's Day came to be?
I've got my own origin stories that I've read about, but what do you have?
It doesn't involve Kim.
A good thing, because I would say Kim was probably not a good idea.
It does involve.
But
some
then
blood,
again,
though.
it does seem like Kim really wants to see if people love her. You know, I mean, it's only just to make sure it's true love and not fake.
She has
And-
trust issues,
Yeah,
abandonment issues.
that's something.
I mean, she's. Anyways, so did you know that Valentine's Day was celebrated all around the world?
Around the world,
Yeah.
around the world.
They're not blue. Well, some people are blue, but
I didn't know that.
I
thought
didn't
it was.
either.
I thought it was.
I think
more
like
kind
I
of
thought
like
like
a,
Thanksgiving it was more of an American thing,
yeah.
but this version comes from Rome.
What kind of virgin?
This version comes from Romans. They celebrated February 13th through the 15th, the feast of Lupercalia?
Leprechauna?
Leprechauna.
I have no idea. Well, maybe it was a little bit of the origin story. I didn't look up the origin story
Anyways,
this time.
I'm
for
going to
this
pronounce it Lupercalia.
pack. Okay.
If someone wants to correct me, they're more than welcome
Comment down below and let Joseph know he was wrong in the pronunciation.
to. So in this festival, they would sacrifice goats and dogs.
Ooh.
Yummy.
Yummy. You know, dogs are eaten on other areas of the planet.
To this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after they would sacrifice these goats and dogs,
Okay.
it was followed by whipping the women with the hides of these
Ooh.
slain animals.
That makes sense. Every now and then you need a little whipping.
And Some women would agree. Yes.
Yes.
So, do you know what
depending
this
on their
taste?
their taste, yeah.
So, do you know why they were whipping these women?
I would say the women were. Those are the kinds of things that they liked that back then during that time. They were, hey, you know what? Valentine's Day, let's do this thing. You know, let's go into the bedroom and you bring that
You bring that dog skin,
that old animal hide there, and you slap me around with it a little. You know, do a little 50 Shades of Grey with me. I think they had the book back then. And
the original.
Yeah, they had the original 50 Shades of Grey back in.
But back then there was only like 5 shades. So it was like 5 shades of gray.
Oh, okay. 5 Shades of Grey.
So, no, they did it. They whipped these women with the hides to avert evil spirits.
Not to be misogynistic, but every now and then, there's a certain time of the month
So anyways, this festival was believed to bring fertility and good health to the women.
Fertility gods again. There
and it was
go.
up to the men to really just whip them into shape. Literally.
Beat them into fertility. That makes sense.
So.
We need them bleeding from their backs to know that they're very fertile.
You fertile yet? So this evolved into the Western Christian Church. They announced on the 14th day of February as St. Valentine's Day to honor 2 early Christian martyrs, both named Valentine.
Okay.
Who were executed the same day in different years in the 3rd century A.D.
Well, it's one of those things that we've learned before in the past where, like, kind of like the Krampus thing.
Krampus.
With the Krampus thing where Christians come in, hey, this saint that we really like, and he loved the people. Mm-hmm. Why don't we call it Valentine's Day?
The Pope, one of them, it doesn't say, but they combined both Pope Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. That was his name. Mm-hmm. Pope Valentine's Day.
I don't think that was his name, but okay.
He combined that day and the festival of Lupercalia. Still calling it that.
Oh, okay.
Later on.
I think because of Valentine's Day, they needed a little bit of lubricalientation.
With the whipping and the lubrication, yeah.
Yes.
So instead of it going through that festival going like 3 days or 2 days long, it was all just on one day.
Yeah.
February 14th.
And they slipped right through that with the lubricationalia.
It was just too rough, so they needed to lubricate it.
Yeah.
Because they never gone through just one.
Yeah.
You know? So they had to lubricate it and make sure things went smoothly.
So again,
because if you try to force it, it's never going to go. So that is the real and the official origin. I don't care what anyone else says. That is it.
So I've got another story that I found, and this is from an article that I found online, actually.
Okay. Is it going to be more murder? Killings?
It's yeah. I think I'm sticking with that. With that routine right there. I'm sticking with that. What would you call it?
The trend of it?
I'm sticking with that trend right there with the whole murder, Valentine's Day kind of thing.
Because it seems like Valentine's Day love and just like death and murder kind of go hand in hand with each other.
So I think with this one, I'm going to combine like murder and ghosts together.
Ooh.
How about that?
Okay.
How do you like that one?
Let's do it.
Let's put those together there.
Cool, that's spooky music.
So it's a romantic murder plot.
Okay.
Jess Strange deserted his wife and children and began a new life in Albany, New York. He lived under a new name, Joseph Orton, and began working at the Van Rensselaer residence at Cherry Hill. So this guy just left his family that he already had and started working somewhere else.
Sometimes you're not happy.
He caught the eye of the affluent Elsie Van Rensselaer, a married woman. So she was married, everyone. Jesse and Elsie decided their love could really flourish without Elsie's husband, John Whipple, around. Wonder how that's going to turn out.
Say nipple.
Whipple.
Oh.
In May of 1827, after a failed attempt of arsenic poisoning, Jesse Strange shot John Whipple. John and Elsie tried to hide their murder plot, but they didn't cover their tracks very well.
Did they try to cover them at all?
So they tried to kill them with arsenic.
He was just like, that's not going to work. Let me just go straight to the gun.
He's like, what are you doing, bro? Arsenic does nothing to me. I eat arsenic for breakfast. And so Jesse's like, oh yeah? Then take this metal.
He's like, no, I've just started eating little 22s for breakfast. I'm not built up to that caliber yet.
Exactly. And so obviously they didn't hide it well, because what this article says is that there's a new favorite blog called Murder by Gaslight. And it describes the sensational trial that followed. So I'm going to read some of those excerpts from that vlog.
Let's hear
You
it.
may want to find that out, because I didn't go look it up. I just found this article. In June, Jesse Strange confessed to the murder and told prosecutors where to find the rifle. Oh, so there you go. Shot him with the rifle. He believed that if Elsie was convicted as well, her powerful family connections would get them both pardoned, and he tried to lay blame on her. But when his lawyer and prosecutors told him that nothing he said against Elsie would lighten the punishment, he withdrew his confession. So he thought, I'm going to blame her for it.
Maybe I'll get a little bit of leniency with her.
And since she loves me,
This married woman.
this affluent family, this rich family will get me off as well.
No, you thought she was going to get him off.
Well,
at
guess
first.
what? Jesse thought wrong. Members of the household testified that they heard Strang spread the stories of prowlers out to kill Whipple. So Mr. Jesse went and was already kind of plotting the whole thing to kind of
What a dumb thing to do.
to kind of hide his trail there. The merchants who sold him the rifle and the arsenic. So there was one merchant here that sold Jesse, Mr. Strang, the arsenic and the rifle. So that same merchant testified, as did the hotel keeper who had seen Strang and Elsie together. So there's witnesses.
Yes. They're just friends.
So the love triangle, the plot thickens. But it was Strang's confession admitted over the objection of the defense which sealed his fate. And as the jury deliberated, it only took 15 minutes before returning a verdict of
Not guilty.
guilty.
Oh, no.
And now it was Elsie's turn. Her trial, right? The two were in love.
Mm-hmm.
The hotel keeper saw them. The merchant knows of Jesse, who bought the rifle and the arsenic.
Yes.
So what will come of Elsie after Jesse had confessed that it was both of them?
Let me guess. Her rich family got her off.
Elsie's trial followed the same course as Strang's, except the prosecutors tried to call Strang as a witness. There was much debate over his eligibility to testify because he had been convicted, but not yet sentenced. So at that point, they probably thought, you know what? Maybe if I say something, they'll lower down my sentence and they'll get her and me.
Strang was strange.
Strang was strange. In the end, the judge would not allow his testimony. The prosecutors rested, and the jury, without leaving their seats, acquitted Elsie Whipple. The Albany establishment had closed ranks to save one of their own for a public hanging. So, as you said, Joseph, the rich saved the rich.
Of course. Gotta look out for each other, you know?
So, Jesse Strang was found guilty of first-degree murder, and Elsie Whipple was found not guilty. And so, here's what the Albany tourist site says, and this is the interesting and ghostly part. According to an Albany tourist site, all members of this love triangle roam the halls of Cherry Hill. People have witnessed a ghost on the bottom floor of Cherry Hill and believed it was Mr. Whipple. He is not hostile, but gives off a feeling of anger. Jesse Strang's ghost is seen where the gallows once stood, wearing the same clothes he wore the day of his execution.
Well, what else would he be wearing?
A suit.
Okay.
I don't know why. That just came to my mind.
Maybe just nothing. Like a white
Butt
ghost.
naked ghost walking
No,
around the
just
gallows.
Like mist, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he'd be just a naked, misty ghost.
There might be one out there. Who knows?
I don't know. Would they be wearing the same clothes that they were wearing?
You would think so.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, I guess, what was the point of adding that into the commentary there? But whatever.
Well, let's wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up. If you have any strange, scary, murderous love triangles similar to ours or other stories that you would like to share, comment down below. Let us know.
You can do it anonymously. That way, if you're involved, we won't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that would be really interesting if if you comment down below on something you have been a part of.
Yeah, something strange. Like if your
that interests me.
long distance internet girlfriend said to go and send you a drop of blood or go get a cat.
That'd be
or
crazy.
an old person to adopt.
Yeah, that'd be far out, like our show, far out. So let us know. That'd be crazy. No, that really would be. If like you personally have one of those crazy stories, let us know. Comment down below. Tell us that story because that'd be crazy. And if it's a really good story, we'll actually read it and let the viewers and podcasters know.
For sure. So like, share, subscribe.
Share with
hit
your
the
friends.
Bell, listen everywhere else.
Hit the bell.
There's a bell there. And this is the end.